Hello, Scott. I'm Eric, and I'm here with Scott Mann, the director of Fall. And first of all, this movie took 10 years off my life. So thank you for that.
Pleasure. Sorry about that.
Um, this, I gotta say, because in my younger days, doing things I shouldn't, we would find, just abandoned buildings and structures and climb those.
Ah,
And so, like, watching them climb the rickety ladder with the loose bolts, and then they get like near the top, and then there's that thing in the way. And it's like, why? Who does the safety protocol on these things? what what's some of the research, I guess, that maybe went into like how much experience do you have climbing? Because a
yeah.
lot of the stuff that you have in this seems like stuff that would really happen in this
Yeah.
situation.
Oh, it's yeah. So it's very. I guess it's all rooted in reality. In terms of climbing experience, personally, I have really none professionally. Like I it definitely came through the stunt teams. Ingrid Klein, who led the stunt team, and then we had an incredible group of riggers who were amazing, and they'd all kind of fed the reality into it and would challenge the realities of things that helps the movie. But yeah, to go back to inspirations and things. Funny enough, looking at what's out there in terms of YouTube and influencer videos and things, probably sounds like you might have been a part of the influence of this very film.
No, I didn't videotape it.
Oh, thank God! It's
Yeah.
yeah, because they terrified me when I saw them. I saw a few things. Like I would say, if there's one film that has influenced me more with height than anything, it would be Free Solo, where Alex Honnold climbs the El Capitan without a rope. And I think, and the reason it did is it does a similar thing, I think, to some of the YouTubey things that I've seen, which again, I hasten to add, please do never do. But there's a personalized point of view that really gets you intimate into the person doing it. And I think that psychological kind of instrument is why those things work. Because I think you can have I've done many stunts actually in films before where we've done height work, and there's a spectacle to height work, but actually the psychology of height and falling and fear of falling in heights comes down to the human piece and how that's played. And so it's a special kind of horror that kind of accentuates thrills and tension that very psychological. So I think tapping into that and getting inspiration from things around like that was key to doing it. And yeah, and doing it for real basically was the other piece.
Well, actually, speaking of that, how much of this was real? Because I like there's a couple of parts I noticed, like, there's probably some CGI in there, but
Yeah, I
there's
think
and there's other parts where I'm like, oh, they could have cheated that. But then there's other parts where like that are
yeah.
they on that tower? They're on that tower, aren't
They're on
they?
that tower. Yeah, so there's the thing. So with the exception of a few shots in the opening, they with the climbing stuff in the opening, the tower stuff is all real. And I think um that's what enabled the film to kind of play the way it played and capture it the way we captured it. It became apparent that like we had the choice of, you could, like, let's be honest, like with a film of this, you could go green screen and you could do all these things and do a studio version, which would probably cost hundreds of millions of dollars just to make it look kind of real inside a studio, because they're very hard things to do in a studio: bright sunshine, light, like the wind, the elements, all the things that you actually don't realize are there until you get there anyway. They're very hard to replicate and very expensive. And so we went completely the other way, and we stripped it right down to have a core team of us during COVID time. Had these like IMAX size cameras, went up and basically found the top tip of a mountain that had this big drop off, and then we built the tower sections by the mountain, and that enabled us to film film pretty much everything for real with the girls atop the tower. And then when it started, if you ever kind of looked right down, there was an element where we had to stitch in ground that we shot elsewhere in the desert to feel it. So there's kind of those stitchy edges that we had to kind of blend through, but by and large, the whole thing is real. It's the real structure. They're really up there. And more than anything, the elements that beat them, that whip it around and everything, they're all very real. And they affect how you shoot it and how we did it. So I think that's what gives it that feel. And that's what really grounds it for what it needed,
So I'm checking the IMDb, and it looks like you had some stunt doubles, which I'm assuming you would
Yeah.
need for certain shots. What are safety protocols like with that? Because if it were
Yeah.
me and I'm looking at this, look, you're a stunt double, you know what you're doing. I'm looking at that going,
Well, I think there's two parts. One is, okay, so the stunt team as a whole were incredible, and I think we had the guys who rigged it were the same guys who did the Dubai Tower in Mission. When
okay,
Tom went out the window. So we had the very best guys. well, guys and girls, actually, I should say, and doing the rigging and the safety. Of course, it was very scary, you know, and you've got a structure there that's kind of wobbling around. But our stunt doubles, they start out, they would do the stunts, show them, but as the girls, Ginny and Grace, got increasingly more confident with the situation and being at height, they wanted to do more and more of their own stunts. So it became a thing of being shown by Alice, and Alice are the two stunt doubles, by being shown them the way and showing them on, say, wide shots, we were then able to go into close shots with the actresses doing their own stunts, and they really kind of increasingly went for it and did it, and did it themselves. And what that enabled us to capture was them at height doing these very, you know, these kind of crazy stunts and having the camera kind of in their face while they're doing it for real, to really see that it's them. And I think all of those elements feed into how we watch the movie and how we, you know, and how we believe, why we believe it, because it's you know, it's right there. So they went for it. They got beaten up. But they loved it, and they just wanted to capture it as honestly as we could, basically.
Yeah. And what was let's see, you got you and a Jonathan Frank are the writers on this.
Jono, as I call him, Jono Mono. It's his nickname.
What's the writing process for something like this? Because it's hard enough maintaining interest in the story in a full-length screenplay, but you're doing a full-length story. You're on top of a tower. You're on a little bird's nest. Like how do you maintain that?
It's a challenge, honestly. I think conceptually, like, we went into it a different way than we had in the previous movies, because we've both written on pretty much every movie I've directed. We've kind of written at some stage, usually as a rewrite process of someone else's movie. And this was very much like setting the scene to say, look, let's do some. We both had this fear of heights anyway, and we wanted to do something that really utilized cinema to its full extent, to make something theatrical and immersive and an experience, rather than just kind of the basic tent poles that kind of come out today, and make something worthwhile that you really should be seeing with the biggest screen and the biggest experience. And it was really, and it was tailored around this idea of like how to go about it. So we came across these actual towers in the desert, and just figured it was the perfect setting to put the girls for this particular film. And then the way we kind of went about writing is, okay, let's write them into that corner of being stuck, right? And knowing that once they're there, and then the question is, can you really make a movie out of that? Is there enough to get a movie out of that situation?
Turns out, yes.
Yeah, basically, yes, turns out. But it's also, there's a thing of like, we ended up sitting on our own little homemade kind of box ledge that we did when we were writing and breaking the story. And we just kind of thought, like our life depended on it, thought, how would we get out of it? And try to think through everything we could possibly do. And you know, thankfully the writing process is organic, right? You'd say, okay, well, actually, if I had this here, I might try that there. And that kind of forms the kind of story process. But really, it was a very natural, organic process of like thinking, what would I do first? What would I do second? It was just whatever came to us, really. And so that's kind of how we went through it by design. And I also think it's quite refreshing not to have something that's overly long, honestly. Like, it's not, I think as an experience, it feels like the right length, right? It's like, you don't, you know, it is a roller coaster, and you don't want to go on a roller coaster for 4 hours because you'll make yourself sick. So it should really just be a kind of get the very best out of each kind of element and flavor of kind of emotions or experience, and then, you know, and then get to the finish line, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say the timing is great on this, because I'm not gonna lie, I had to step away a couple times. All right, we're gonna go back to it. And I'm such a masochist. It's coming out this week, and I saw it's playing in the theater nearby. I'm gonna go through it all again.
Yeah, do, man.
Think my better judgment, but I'm gonna
That's the way to do it. I swear. It's no, it's great, and it's great with an audience. I've noticed it's like, I think, again, there's another reason to go to the theater, right? Is when you're doing it with an audience and you share an experience. And like I've been thrilled by the reaction of it, of the, you know, the way that the audience rhythms play is wonderful. So it is a very kind of group experience to go through, for sure.
Yeah, I could see this being like a really great midnight movie, because usually with midnight movies, like even really great movies, start, you know, you're up late, start to stay awake.
Yeah,
I dare you to fall asleep watching this. Well, so what are there any sort of, because you nailed the tension in this,
Thank you.
What are some like movies or filmmakers that maybe inspired this? Because
Um,
I can't imagine this concept being done any better than you did it.
oh, well, that's very kind of you. I think
Well, I have the heart attacks to prove it.
it's like I like heart stopping is is a good sign. I think it's I don't know I particularly I like I say I think as a point of reference I try to kind of look at all height stuff, right, and extrapolate what was spectacle and what was experience, and I felt like Free Solo was definitely one that kind of that was drawn from, but then there was also the Dubai sequence, the Mission Dubai sequence was very well executed, but only a small sequence. So I kind of I think that I don't know. I feel like it's as much a psychological kind of play out than anything else, right? In terms of the way that the film plays, I think, because you really have to think of it from Becky's perspective, and so it is. I admire. I'll be honest. Like my most admired filmmakers I can list you would be James Cameron and Zemeckis and Spielberg. I think would be my my top three. I'm going to push, but I think it's I'm sure they would make their own amazing versions of this kind of concept, but it's but for me it's been a nice personal experience to do it the way we did it.
Awesome. Just a couple more things. One, I'm looking at your past movies and now after watching this, like you're completely on my radar. So I'm looking at the tournament and the heist. Yeah. What's like a movie kind of that you're real proud of? What's the thing I should hit up next?
Yeah, well, that's a hard. Oh, my son was asking me this the other day, and I was like, "Don't ask me this question, Joseph. I can't answer the question." But no, you're proud of all your work, I guess, in different ways. I'll be honest. Out of all of them, I'm probably most proud of this movie because it's the most personal to me, and it's and like with the other movies we did, they were usually kind of a rewrite of something else. So it was like, so it was always kiss that. But no, I'm proud of all of them. Actually, Tournament is the first movie I made, which I don't know how it holds up nowadays. I'll be honest, it's quite old now. So I'll be curious to see. I'm kind of pleased that. And Heist with De Niro and Jeff, that was great. And I like the themes of that. I was a new father at the time, and it's very kind of themed into my life. And Final Score. I think Final Score just came out on Netflix over here, and it got its little life here. So a lot of fun. I think you just try and kind of make the most out of each one, right, and find what the joy of it, and then what you enjoy, and embrace it for what it is. But this is by far the most honest, like visceral, raw movie that I've come up with that I feel very like it's mine, in truth. So I think I'm most proud of this one more than probably any movie I've done, and it's but it's part of that journey. You learn from your previous ones too, right? So it's
one last thing. Bruce, my co-host Bruce, he has a box that he puts movies into, and every week he pulls a movie out of the box, and that's what we watch for the following week.
Oh wow, good idea.
I would like you to put a movie into the box. What's a movie that you think is probably well underseen, or maybe something maybe of your childhood, maybe something?
I think childhood. Okay, I got two movies for you, but they're both two things. I don't know if you'll be able to find one of them. It might be harder. So I would because someone asked me, RoboCop, the original RoboCop, I would definitely put in that box. That's definitely one of my top favorite movies as childhood. And there's another movie in my childhood that I don't know again how it hold up. There's a thing called Ghost Watchers that was on the BBC. I don't know if you can really see it, but it was. When I experienced it as a child, it was horrifying. So I would totally recommend that one. That would be my secret. It was kind of well before the Blair Witch days of doing something kind of docu-mock for real, and it gave me that scarred me as a single thing. It probably scarred me more than anything else in my childhood. So that's what would go in the box. I think Ghost One.
I see Wake and Fright in the chat.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I don't see no chat, but is that just getting kicked off?
But anywho, it was great talking with you, Scott, and congratulations.
Thank you,
as much as this movie pained me physically, it was, you knocked it out of the park. So congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it, but I really do appreciate it. Thank you. And go see it on the bigger screen next. Okay.
Will do.
Thank you, buddy.